let's take a look at some of the evidence to see if this is even a possibility. Because they have been pushing this solar eclipse narrative for quite some time. But those of you that have been paying attention clearly see that I've shown you that that is the path of the fault lines that's cracked.
This is a map of California, a region in the United States. In blue, running from the Salton Sea in the south to Cape Mendocino in the north, is the San Andreas Fault. The boundary slices California into two from Cape Mendocino to the Mexican border. This fault keeps the US government and all people residing in California on the edge of their seats, as the San Andreas Fault has a long history of creating high-powered earthquakes. Because of this, the fault is always closely watched. And now a recent discovery in the area has shown that the greatly feared fault is about to crack. When is the San Andreas Fault going to crack? Will California slide into the sea when it happens? Join us as we explore how California's San Andreas Fault is finally about to crack. When massive and powerful earthquakes are being discussed, the San Andreas Fault automatically comes to people's minds, especially those living in California. It is a significant fracture of the Earth's crust in extreme western North America. This fault spans northwestward for over 800 miles. Right from the northern end of the Gulf of California through West California, it then moves right from California and passes seaward into the Pacific Ocean in the area of San Francisco. The San Andreas Fault is greatly feared because of the tectonic movement detected around the fault, as it's been associated with periodic earthquakes said to often develop near the surface along its path. A perfect example Americans wouldn't forget so soon is the disastrous earthquake that happened in 1906. Another one occurred in 1989 but wasn't as severe as the first one. 5 years later, disaster struck again. This time, a more powerful and destructive earthquake happened in the Los Angeles suburb of Northridge, along one of San Andreas's larger secondary faults. The fact that these earthquakes happened and affected cities does not mean the San Andreas Fault went through the town. However, communities like Point Reyes Station, Fraser Park, Daly City, Desert Hot Springs, Gorman, San Bernardino, Wrightwood, Palmdale, and Bodega Bay lie squarely on the fault and are sitting ducks. This terrible news about the San Andreas Fault came out when the director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, Thomas Jordan, delivered a recent announcement. Indeed, this news would have turned the minds of every Californian and made them almost have their hearts in their mouths. Thomas announced that the San Andreas Fault seems to be in a critical state, and as a result, a great earthquake could be looming underneath. In some ways, the news about this looming earthquake might not have surprised the Californian residents, because they see this fault and have the fear in their minds that it could unleash at any moment.
Neighbors to be safe after Billy Baldwin in nearby Santa Barbara shared video of floodwaters. In LA, abandoned cars, massive sinkholes and flooding. In Studio City, this frightening mudslide. Of course, Montecito is also home to Oprah and Harry and Meghan. This creek near the couple's mansion was over its banks yesterday.
Water's there, turn around, don't drown. Thank goodness nobody was hurt, but those two cars, they definitely drowned. Now, this is all because of some sort of plugging of the drainage system. Where is this, Stu? Well, that's going to be Terminal Island Freeway right there. That's used by the big trucks. And Willow, that's going to be the first location that we're going to look at.
Run.
Why is San Francisco slowly sinking into the ground? The high-rise buildings weigh over 500 million pounds each, causing the land to sink. It has also created the infamous Leaning Tower of San Francisco.
In San Francisco, there's a neighborhood that's sinking. It's called Mission Bay. And even though the buildings are stable, turns out the roads and sidewalks are not. Some buildings are trying to fix the gaps, but they keep getting larger. Look at this one. Now here's why that's happening.
Part of the building is on a big concrete slab. You could see the concrete here, and there are piers. And those piers go all the way through the bay fill, the bay mud fill, down to bedrock. So it's solid in place. But this sidewalk doesn't have any piers.
And now San Franciscans are suing the city.
The edges around the buildings are, I don't know if they're rising or they're staying steady, but the actual streets are sinking.
Here's what San Francisco's city attorney's office responded to me about the lawsuits. They said, quote, "The risk of subsidence was disclosed to all property owners prior to purchase. Also, these sidewalks are private sidewalks that are the responsibility of the property owners to maintain." But the attorneys representing these residents are saying the problem goes beyond the sidewalks. They believe the main issue is the soil, which is made out of rocks and mud.
You'll remember that scene from the movie 2012.
Slowly sliding to the ground, Sky Cow flew over the homes destroyed by a landslide on Pear Tree Lane in Rolling Hills Estates. The homes look like they're folding in. The garage smashed, cracks throughout the pavement and up the walls.
In the course of the last 2 or 3 days, it's been...
Firefighters say they noticed a shift in the land around 4 Saturday afternoon. By evening, they went door to door and red taped 12 homes. 16 people were given 20 minutes to pack up only what they needed and leave. The hill these homes are on drops into a canyon. Officials say is about 50 feet below. There's a ravine behind and nothing at the bottom of it.
To think that these homes were intact, yesterday afternoon, and today you can hear the creaking, the cracking.
One homeowner told us there's talk a pipeline broke a couple weeks ago.
Gardeners have noticed subterranean, he called it a river. I never witnessed that. But
there's also a sinkhole less than a mile away from the landslide. But right now, it's too early to pinpoint an exact cause.
It's